We are talking one word. It is disqualification. Disqualification. This is what President Donald John Trump wants. Who does he want disqualified? One, Fani Willis. And who else? Nathan Wade. Now, does he want these people disqualified because they're black? No, it's not a racial thing.
It's a black thing, okay?
I promise you that if Fani was white, if Nathan was white, and Fani and Nathan were trying to prosecute and incarcerate Donald J. Trump, he would want them disqualified as well. It's not a race thing. It's that Fani and Nathan are attacking Donald Trump. So now you got the judge. You got the Judge McAfee, right? McAfee, isn't that how you spell his name? And he needs to decide, what am I gonna do? How do I make the decision? How do I make the decision, guys? This is what Judge McAfee is gonna be listening to today. He's gonna be listening for the arguments to decide, how do I make a decision? A decision of what? A decision to disqualify. Disqualify who? Disqualify Fani and disqualify Nathan. This is the question of the whole case. All right. Are we going to disqualify Fani? Are we disqualify Nathan? So we have to say, well, what points do I need to make this decision? Now, the whole goal is, this is what it turns on. It's yes or no. Yes or no. This is what it is, guys. He needs to find out if there is evidence, let's say evidence showing an actual, or let's say the appearance of a conflict, right? So Judge McAfee says, how do I make the decision on disqualification? Well, yes or no? Is there evidence showing an actual conflict or the appearance of a conflict? This is the question. If it's yes, Fani is off the case. If it's no, Fani is on the case. All right. The judge has a yes or no question. Is there evidence showing an actual conflict or an appearance of a conflict? Put a yes if you think there is a conflict or the appearance of one, and put a no in the chat if there is no appearance of a conflict, no evidence, even though we know they were having sex. Now, is that enough? Is that enough? The judge needs to continue the consideration, continue the analysis. Here's what the judge needs to really ask to drill down on this. The judge needs to ask, he has a number of questions. Questions for the judge. What are the questions for the judge? The questions are, number one, were they, listen, were they, were they, all right, were they, that's the question. That's one question. Were they, that's
question number one.
Were they, all right, let me I don't want to put that because YouTube will be crazy. Was there a relationship? Was there a relationship betwixt Nathan Wade and Fani Willis? Was there a relationship, Fani v. Nathan? Was there a relationship? Number two, if there was a relationship, was it romantic or not? Was the relationship romantic or not? Let me do this because this is a little bit too big.
That's what he said.
Oh my God. Why would he say that?
I don't know. It feels weird for a woman to say that's what she said.
Super weird.
It's always been
what she said. Yeah.
It is weird for me to say that's what another she said. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It's kind of
hot. Girl thing.
Anyway, questions for the judge. Number one, was there a relationship? Was the relationship romantic or not? When? Let's say three. When did it start? When did it start? And four, does it continue? These are the four questions that the judge has to figure out. Now, again, guys, what's on the table? Disqualification. Disqualification of who? Fani and Nathan. The judge has to make the decision. So the judge really has one big question. The one big question for the judge is whether there is evidence showing an actual conflict or the appearance of a conflict. This is the legal standard. This is how the judge decides whether to disqualify. But to answer this question, there are some sub questions that need to be asked. So, we've had a lot of testimony. We've had evidence. We know the answer to some of these questions already. So guys, let me ask you for question number one, was there a relationship between Fani and Nathan? Somebody write the answer. Do we know that?
What do you guys think? it?
Do we know it? We know that there is. They were trying to deny it. They were trying to be silent, but they had to come out and admit it. Now, so there was some type of relationship between the two. Now, was it romantic or not? Ooh, they did not want to admit this, but both Nathan and your girl Fani on the stand under oath in open court admitted yes. Yes, Judge McAfee, we were you got us.
It happened.
It happened in the back room of my office. It probably happened in the Dogwood address.
2 Chainz house.
All right. So now here is the big question. Here is where there's really, it could go either way. This is the number one question, guys. When did the relationship start? Really, you can kind of break this down. You can say before Nathan got the job or after Nathan got the job. This is the big question. Put before if you think they were having sex before Nathan got the job. Put after if you think the sex started after Nathan got the job. This is the big question, guys. Number 3 is a big question. All right. And there's really been not a smoking gun. When I used to have y'all, man, I would a lot of times have to hire these private investigators. Private investigators go out, they got some means, they got some techniques. They would catch you guys in the act. But if we're honest, we really don't have a photo. We really don't have video of Nathan bending Fani over the fax machine at Fani's office in the back room. So the judge is, we've had Nathan say, no, our relationship started after I got the job. We had your girl Fani saying, no, the relationship started after Nathan got the job. But we had 2 Chainz. 2 Chainz said, no, they had been in. They were having sex way before he got the job. We had Terrence. Terrence played it both sides. Man. Terrence was like, oh, I don't remember. I don't know when they started having sex. And then 3 weeks earlier, he's texting Ashley Merchant talking about, yeah, it was way before. They were having sex in the back room.
31 pages of just snitching.
Just straight snitching, all right? And then this question here, does it continue? I think the evidence has shown no, it doesn't continue. So we know the answer to this question, number 4. We know the answers to questions 1 and 2. We do not know, and the judge is gonna have to make an executive decision. The judge is gonna have to make a call. When did the relationship start? So these 4 questions is part 1 of what needs to be asked, but then there's another part 2. There's another question. Part 2, there's one question, and that is, and this kind of goes in accordance with these 4 questions. This is the second part. So let me do this. Let me say part 1. Y'all are in law school today.
Welcome.
Welcome. We're breaking it down. So this is part 1. The judge needs to decide part 1, and then the judge needs to decide part 2. Now, what is part 2? And we heard a lot of evidence on this. We heard some back and forth, but it's not really definitive. We don't know a definitive answer, just like we don't know a definitive answer on this. There's no smoking gun. But what does part 2 concern? Does anybody know? One word starts with a C. Does anybody know what part 2 concerns? Starts with a C?
Can y'all do it?
Part 2 concerns the cash.
Cash.
The cash.
The cash.
All right. We need to understand, let's say, was there an existence of any personal benefit conveyed as a result of the was there?
He's like, forget the algorithm, man. We're just going. We're doing it.
Is there an existence of any personal benefit? You can say, if so, to what extent? So, number 1, we need to decide, has there been any kickbacks? Did Fani give Nathan this contract and then Nathan turn around and slide Fani some money along with it? What was
150,000? Other prosecutors made 150 and 250.
100%. AV is so right. Nathan got $165,000. One guy got 250. One woman got 150, or was it 100? You remember?
I think it was definitely 150.
We'll say 150. So one guy who was not having sex with Fani got 250. One woman who was not having sex with Fani got 150. The guy who was having sex with Fani got $650. And then the 650 or some of it was used for vacations, was used for dinners, used for lunches, cruises. And Fani got some of these or attended some of these vacations. Fani attended some of these cruises.
You never went to Florida with Mr. Wade?
When we went to get on the cruise ship, we went to Miami.
Okay, that's the only time that you went to Florida with him?
I think we went to Miami and spent the night. That's my recollection.
Fani attended some of these lunches. Fani attended some of these dinners. So, you know, and again, let's go to the top for the people who are new here, the people just coming in. The question of the day is, will there be a disqualification? A disqualification of who? A disqualification of Fani and Nathan. You have one decision maker. It is Judge McAfee. Shout out to the dogs.
Go dogs.
Go dogs. Judge McAfee here, he has to decide. Me and Judge McAfee had some of the same law professors at the great University of Georgia School of Law. Judge McAfee has to decide, how do I make this decision about the disqualification? Well, it's a yes or no question. The yes or no question is there evidence showing an actual conflict or the appearance of a conflict? Well, how do you answer that question? If there was an actual conflict, yes, disqualification. If there's an appearance of a conflict, yes, disqualification. But if there is no evidence of an actual conflict, no disqualification. No evidence of an appearance of conflict, no disqualification. Are we all on the same page? Are all of my first year law students on the same page?
Y'all get it?
So for the judge to answer this question, whether there was a conflict or not, there's a two-pronged, what we call it, guys, we call these tests. It could be like a two-prong or a three-prong test. You got two parts, a two-prong test. You got to ask yourself.
You got to satisfy each bucket. So that way you have
Exactly. So for the first part, the first prong, you got to ask these questions. Was there a relationship between Fani and Nathan? We know yes. So we got that question. We got that out of the way. Was their relationship romantic or not? Yes. We got this question out of the way, right? Was it romantic? Yes. So we know this. Was there a relationship? Yes. Is the relationship over? Yes. So we've got definitive answers to 3 of the 4 questions, but here is where it gets sticky. We know yes to the first question, yes to the second question. We know yes to the 4th question. But here's where it gets sticky. When did it start? When did the start? Did it start before Nathan got the job or did it start after? And this is where it's not definitive. Terrence in the text messages says yes. 2 Chainz in her sworn testimony says yes. Fani says no, it started after. Wade says no, it started after. Terrence's text messages say they started having sex before. 2 Chainz says before. Nathan says after. Fani says after. So it's 2 and 2. How do you decide if you've got 2 pieces of evidence that say yes, 2 pieces of evidence say no? How do you make the decision? This is such a big decision, guys.
It's huge.
This one question kind of is a turning point as to whether or not Donald J. Trump will really basically have his case dismissed. Let's be honest. We need to find out to determine whether or not a president will continue in this prosecution. When did the penis enter the vagina? What is the date, Lord? Give us a date.
When did it happen?
All right. Isn't that crazy? The prosecution of a president of the United States depends on the date of penetration. Isn't that wild, guys? Life is so crazy. I need to know the date of penetration. This is what the judge has to decide. Imagine going to law school thinking you're going to be, some highfalutin lawyer and everything's going to be great. You're going to be helping people out. You're going to be saving poor people. You're going to be getting justice. And you're sitting on the bench trying to figure out the date of penetration.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes,
and number 3 is the sticky situation, but number 3 is the sticky icky. Right? It's the sticky icky, because what's important about that, and the reason why it's so important, is we need to figure out if Fani had some favoritism by giving him the job, right?
Exactly.
If there was some nepotism giving him that job, those are huge salary discrepancies. And I do want to make a correction, Lee. The woman was making $250 and the man was making $150. But even with that, Nathan was making $300,000 more than these other prosecutors that were on the case.
Exactly. All right. So thank y'all so much. So we need to find out before or after, when was the date of penetration? Now, why does all this matter? Why does this matter, guys? Does anybody know why this matters? This matters because it directly relates to where? Part 2. All of part 1 relates to part 2. Don't forget, guys, it's a 2-pronged test. Don't forget, there are 2 parts. So this is why you got to listen closely. You can be like, well, why does it matter? When was the date of penetration? Was it before Nathan got the job or after? This is why it matters, because part 2 is there's another question. Part 2 is, was there an existence of any personal benefit conveyed as a result of the sex? All right. And if so, what was the extent? So were there benefits conveyed? Well, this is something we know that Nathan got $650,000. We know that Nathan and Fani went on vacations. We know that Nathan and Fani went on cruises. We know all about the dinners. We know about Ruth Chris. We know about Bones. We know about Chops. We know about Fogo. We know all about Capitol Grill. Who was paying for these things? And this goes to the benefit, because this is a huge question. Again, Nathan, and it was pretty clear because his credit card statements got leaked. So Nathan was paying for the above benefits. So this is bad. Fani gave Nathan $650,000 and now Nathan is paying for the benefits. This goes to whether or not there is evidence showing a conflict or the appearance of a conflict. Because you can't have one DA benefiting financially or otherwise from the appointment of another DA, because now they have a stake in the prosecution, and DAs do not need to have stakes in the prosecution of a case. And so now we know that Nathan was paying for the benefits. So now what's the question? The question is, did Nathan get paid back? That's a huge question, guys. This is huge. Did Nathan get paid back? Nathan can't argue that he didn't pay for the stuff because some of his credit card statements got leaked in his divorce. So the question is, did Nathan get paid back? Well, those same statements that show that he paid for these vacations, paid for the cruises, paid for the trips, they don't show him getting paid back. There's no a Wells Fargo deposit of $2,500.
It's not a paper trail.
Yes, there's no Chase deposit of $5,000. There's no check written from Fani reimbursement. There's no Cash App. There's no Zelle. There's no Venmo showing, hey, great cruise, here's the half. There's nothing. So now what does Fani say? Fani says, I did pay him back. And so they asked her, and who remembers how she said it? They said, well, how did you pay him back? She's out there, she said, in cash.
So the cash that you would pay him, you wouldn't get it out of the bank?
I have money in my house.
You have money in your house.
In cash. I paid him back in cash. Do y'all remember how she covered her mouth?
Yeah, with the nails and all that.
You know, I paid him back in cash. Was that like a biological Freudian slip? You know, you have all of these people on YouTube who are the body language experts. That's
they're looking at this too. They've dissected this too.
I paid him back in cash. Why are you covering yourself? What are you hiding? I paid him back in cash money. The father was like, yeah, I told her to have cash.
The lockbox, and it's a black thing. We all keep money in the house.
It's a black thing, okay? You know, most black folks, they hide cash. And I've told my daughter, you keep 6 months worth of cash always.
It's like I always told her, don't go on no dates without having your own cash. Without paying for it yourself.
Exactly. This is what the whole damn thing is about, guys. So does everybody understand what we're doing now? And today is the day of cross-examination. Today, as an attorney, this is the best day. This is the day as a 20-year attorney, these are my favorite days when I was practicing. The final argument days. This is where you get to wrap everything up, put a bow on it, and talk your shit to a judge, to a jury, without all of this interruption. Sit down, lady. Sit down, dude, and let me get my stuff off. Y'all remember when Ashley Merchant was up cross-examining Terrence? Every time she ended a sentence, the damn attorney was objecting. It was throwing her off. She couldn't even concentrate.
Meanwhile, she had 31 pages of text messages that happened 3 weeks before.
So we are going to get into it, guys. We're going to read. We didn't finish reading all of these text messages, so we're going to look at it. Guys, in 19 minutes, the argument starts. So we are pre-gaming here. We are pre-gaming. But does everybody understand the analysis? I wanted to break this down so that everybody can see it. The whole case comes down to a disqualification. Disqualification of who? Fani and Nathan. How does the judge make the decision? The judge has one question. It's yes or no. Is there evidence showing a conflict, or is there evidence showing an appearance of a conflict? If yes, Fani is off the case. If no, then Fani is on the case, and the prosecution against Donald John Trump continues. So now to answer this question, the judge has a two-pronged analysis. Number one, was there a relationship between Nathan and Fani? Yes, we already know it. Two, were they romantic? Yes, we know it. Number four, is the relationship over? Yes, we know that. But number three, when did the relationship start? Was it before Nathan got the job or after? If it's before, that's bad. That's bad. If it's after, it's not really so bad. Why is it bad if Nathan got the job, or if the relationship started before the job? Why is it bad if Nathan started having sex with this lady before he got the job? Well, because that goes to part two. Was there any existence of any personal benefit?
And he had no experience.
Listen, I mean, come
Where was
on.
the experience? Because I think we were all looking for it. Like, where's the experience here? Is it there? Where was it?
Where was it? Because you had Terrence's text messages showed that Nathan had never prosecuted a felony case in his life. Never. He had prosecuted misdemeanor grade cases, I'm going to assume. What's a misdemeanor case? Simple battery. What's a misdemeanor case? Stealing $50 of groceries out of Publix. What's a misdemeanor case? A DUI. Nathan has prosecuted DUIs, but how do you go from prosecuting DUIs all the way to the top to prosecute a RICO case, something that is so intricate, so complex? And then not only is it a RICO case, but it's a RICO case against a president of the United States of the free world. You are going to prosecute a man who was the leader of the free world when you had just been prosecuting DUIs and simple larceny cases?
Insane.
Somebody write petty theft. Nathan was prosecuting petty theft cases and now is in the biggest RICO case that the state of Georgia has ever seen in its entire history. Listen to what I'm telling you guys. It's the biggest RICO case, not the longest, because that's Young Thug. It's just still going on. But the biggest RICO case in our state's history, he was just prosecuting petty theft.
Traffic violations, tickets. You know how you go fight a ticket? That's who was up there.
So it's hard to really argue that, oh, this man was so qualified.
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!